Good. Hey. Want to hear there? Lots of people we know drinking coffee over there.
Did you reserve your places? We've got a big order down there.
So I think
I'm the apprentice here, so you tell me what to do.
So I think we've got Hannah who wants to buy some Welsh cakes. So
On the chart.
yeah.
How many do you want?
Hi.
Hello, good morning.
So Hannah's one of our directors. Because we're a social enterprise, we have to have extra directors to make sure we spend our money wisely. So she's going to be your
Does
customer
that mean we
today.
have to treat her differently? She's a director.
Yeah, cool. And make her make sure she pays.
So how many Welsh cakes?
Can I have 4, please?
Coming up?
Have you tried a Welsh cake?
I have. Christina Rees cooks Welsh cakes for the Shadow Cabinet almost every week. So she brings a box of them.
Okay.
She always puts them in front of me. I take 2 boxes usually, and I pass one way, one the other. Then if there's any left, which very seldom is, they go to the office. She makes lots of Welsh cakes, which is lovely.
We sell a lot.
And that way she gets to speak first. Because you know when they all put their hands up when you say something, she always goes first.
Thank you.
They look great. Enjoy.
They are delicious.
What do the rest of you want?
So, do you mind to show us here?
Coffee grounds and great compost. All glass bottles. And you're asking about the coffee grounds, which is great.
Yeah, in the summer we give it to the guys for the allotments, but they don't have much force for it in the winter, so generally we dry it, put it in a glass jar at the front, and then they come and collect it through the day.
Pop the shot in there. Press that button. And then we're going to see your horse isn't applicable. All of Profit milk. Very responsible. This is one of the biggest pills. Got a little tap and a little spill. And then it's poured on the side.
All around, in the circle around, yeah?
Yeah. I feel like you've done this before.
Jeremy, can you look up? One here. Lovely. Jeremy, up here. Have a look.
Oh, yes.
Magic chocolate ones.
So how do you do that?
Just tap it on the top.
Oh, I see. You have a pan so we can shake or something.
That looks great.
Who's this one for? Oh, thank you. There you go.
Perfect.
Come and see it.
Is that okay?
Yeah,
Oh.
good.
So what do you think? Hi, how you all doing?
Fantastic.
I like
I'm
this.
Welsh kids.
You know, I met the other morning the 2 hairy bikers. They were at the television. I was doing ITV this morning. They had a lovely glass. And they gave me a copy of their book and signed it and everything. And wished us all.
Fantastic.
They're really good. Lara, my wife's from Mexico, and they love Mexican food, so that was the morning job. Yeah. So what you're doing? Well, we're doing a campaign going.
Brilliant.
And what's the message of austerity?
Really suffered. You know, people are really suffering under austerity. You know, the universal credit, as you know, the bedroom tax is absolutely.
I'm so proud of what's in our manifesto.
Yeah.
On the WASPA women, on the miners' pension scheme, and as well as starting universal credit. I mean, I represent a constituency like everybody else, and a lot of my constituents are in private rented sector, and their landlords won't wear it, do they? So they're losing their homes.
So thank you very much for listening, as you have done since the very beginning of our campaign. Really
Thank you. And I've met many WASPA women around the country, and I sat down with a group in Derbyshire last week, and I spent and they just told me how much they'd each lost as a result. And those that had partners or family could sort of get by. One of the things she's found it embarrassing. An independent woman who works for her life and suddenly found she was now dependent on somebody else.
Yeah.
And it's that.
Yes.
And then when I was asked on the media, well, why should better off women get the benefit of it? It's not the issue. The issue is they paid into it.
Yes.
It's a universal thing they paid into.
That's right.
They paid their tax, they paid their national insurance, and they shouldn't be treated like this.
No.
And so we're doing what we're going to do.
Yes.
Such an injustice. Such an injustice. You'd be locked up if you got that amount of money off anybody.
And likewise, the way the mine workers pension scheme.
Yeah.
So we'll rebalance that. So, and those are two of the big issues that we put into the manifesto. And I'm very proud that we are determined we're going to just redress the imbalances in it. And when they go on about the cost of it, I want to point out that's how far behind
fares that people have to pay to get to work, and also, you know, we're paying into the public transport, so people use more of the public transport, which is what we want, isn't it?
And it's also about transport beyond rails and buses as well. And I'm really looking forward to the Labour government working with Mark on development of South East Wales Metro and also and that means publicly owned buses. And to give free buses to young people, there's two things. They need to can travel. But it also,
not everybody, some of us only to one.
Get the tissues
I saw your hand.
It was all going so well.
Over the age of 25 is using a bus is a failure.
That's shocking, isn't it?
It is shocking.
Yeah, Welsh Labour policies have just liberated our most deprived communities in providing no support.
Southwales Metro, we're going to legislate in this assembly to re-regulate the bus service if you want. So that almost all the money that goes into buses in Wales is public money. The amount raising fares is actually a fraction of what it costs to run the bus network, and yet it's run for private profit rather than the profit making. And we'll use the places where you'll never run it at a profit, but there's a real social need. And we'll do that in the next, before the end of this coming calendar year.
Okay, can I just add, and locally Ulster's coming in, we've got new routes over, we're making more accessible for everybody, and we also have subsidy for young people. We have a card here in Wales that gives them a cheaper third of their bus travel as well, and also the youth card also, so it's good. We are buffered here because we have a Welsh Labour government. So I just wanted to say something about youth services nationally, that we are failing our young people. The UK government is failing our young people. We're lucky here in Wales that we do have that buffer. I have to send workers in with their coats on into homes because they're going into homes where people can't afford to heat them. So it has a major impact on the way, you know, people live their lives. And austerity disables humanity, that people are dehumanised in both ends of the spectrum. Those who think about the other people as not human, and those who are suffering. And it's not the brown envelope we look for now, if you're relying on benefits, it's the white envelope that comes through your door. which is about your PIP assessment, your ESA assessment. It's doubling down on young people that I've taken, you know, for assessment. It's disgraceful the way they're treated, and that's.
£3,500 a year. The family with 3 children, it's over £4,200 a year that you have to manage.
And you turn to the basic principle of social security. And so the idea basically is that we have the security net, which is about investment in housing. But what I want to do immediately is to invest as much money as we can in emergency housing through roughly.
They're very friendly here. I'm having a lively chat outside.
Lovely place.
It is.
Thank you very much.
Great coffee. Okay. You've got 5 days to close the gap. Is doing more of the same going to be enough, or have you got something more up your sleeve?
We're going to campaign right to the last minute all over the country, and today there are thousands and thousands of Labour Party people on the streets all over this country giving out leaflets, listening to people, talking to people, getting the message out there that austerity must end. We cannot go on with these degrees of inequality and poverty in modern Britain.
So you're talking about bus routes today. Under Welsh Labour, bus routes in Wales have been cut far more than they have in the rest of the country. This is what the Tories say. Explain your policy and why people should believe that it'll help them.
Well, first of all, in Wales, the government has done everything it can to promote bus travel and support bus travel, but the Welsh government has had its funding cut massively by the UK government. And so the Welsh government needs the resources, and under a Labour government in Westminster will get them. But bus travel is absolutely essential to people's lives. There are about 4.5 billion bus journeys made per year across the whole of the country, and the number of bus routes has been cut all the time. And so what we're going to do is invest in buses for the future, which of course reduces congestion on the roads as more people transfer to buses, and also will make the buses much cleaner by investing in an electric fleet of buses. At the moment there are only 700 electric buses in the whole of the UK, and most of those are in London. We want to transform the whole fleet over 10 years or so into an all-electric fleet, and that will of course require investment, but will also create a lot of jobs in the bus industry. There are bus factories in Northern Ireland and in Scotland, as well as many other manufacturers around Britain. So all this will actually improve public transport, and it will also give local authorities across England the powers to set up bus companies if that's what they wish, but at least to regulate and integrate the services with rail.
Let's talk about the NHS documents and this link with Russia. You have constantly deferred simply to Boris Johnson needing to release the Russia report. But what we're looking at now is the fact that Reddit says that those documents were amplified, built up on social media by what they think is a Russian trolling operation that you have therefore directly or indirectly benefited from. What is your response to that?
This is such nonsense. This is such an advanced state of rather belated conspiracy theories by the Prime Minister. When we released the documents, at no stage did the Prime Minister or anybody deny that those documents were real, deny the arguments that we put forward, and if there's been no discussion with the USA about access to our health markets, if all of that is wrong, how come after a week they still haven't said that? The issues are that those documents show exactly what the British government was doing in discussions with Donald Trump's administration in the USA, and also why the Prime Minister has refused
Hooray! Croeso i Abertawe. Welcome. If you haven't guessed from those poster boards outside, my name's Geraint Davies. I've been the MP for Swansea West for 9 years, and long may it continue with a Labour government. Thank you. Thank you all for coming, and thank you all for the people who couldn't quite get in this hall. And there's hundreds of people outside waiting to see Jeremy, waiting to see Mark, waiting to see a Labour victory next Thursday. So I'd like to thank the host of the Pate Pavilion here. Please come back on another day. They do lovely food as well. This is a great event. We are now approaching the final week of a fantastic campaign to change Britain for good. And it's wonderful today that we will have in our presence both the First Minister of our Welsh Government, Mark Drakeford. Give us a clap. And of course, our fantastic leader of the United Kingdom Labour Party, Jeremy Corbyn. Oh, Jeremy Corbyn. Now, of course, there'll be more of that later. So, of course, Swansea, people will know here, they celebrate 50 years of being a city. And we've been very much a Labour stronghold twice that time. And we're looking forward next Friday to getting Carolyn, me and Tonya back into Parliament. Now, what's more, I've mentioned I've been an MP for 9 years, and it's time for change. It's time we were elected as part of a Labour government next week. But first and foremost, I'm here to thank you. Diolch yn fawr iawn pawb, members of the Labour Party, members who are, of course, the life and soul of our party, members who will deliver our victory next week. I know personally, as you will know here, the Welsh members in Swansea and across Wales have been battling in the wind, in the rain, in the snow, in the ice, and there was sunshine last Wednesday and today. So we've been really working very hard, knocking on every door, delivering to every letterbox, walking every street. And I want you to remember that you are the people who are the change makers. You are the people who will change Britain for the better for all. So give yourself a clap. Thank you very much for all the work you're doing, the work you're going to do. We're nearly there. There's just a few more short days to go. These are the crucial ones. The election is still there to be won. And though our limbs are tired, our feet are sore, we'll keep on keeping on until we reach victory. This week is the most important we've faced as a Labour movement, with a general election of the most historic significance since 1945. And it's time to choose for Swansea, for Wales, for the United Kingdom. It's time to choose the next government, the next Prime Minister. What's best for all our families? What's best for all our communities and all our nations? It's a clear and simple choice. A clear choice between a Labour government for the many or a Tory government for the few. A time to go forward with Jeremy to a better future with Labour, or backwards with Johnson and the Tories. And we've seen it, haven't we, in Swansea and beyond, thousands of children thrown into poverty, food banks growing, homelessness. This isn't the sort of nation we want to live in. This isn't the sort of country that's necessary. We're the 5th richest country in the world. This can change, and we will change it. So it's a choice between a UK government that puts £10 living wage in people's pockets, bans exploitative zero-hours contracts, invests in a green industrial revolution. Yes, a green industrial revolution. And gives us the resources we need here in Wales for a healthier, smarter, stronger future. Or a Tory government that wants to strip away the rights of workers and starves our hospitals, schools and public services of vital resources. That's the choice on the doorstep. Now, we're proud in this room of what our Welsh Labour government has done for Wales. Free prescriptions, free school breakfasts, abolishing the right to buy, keeping the NHS in public hands. We've shown that a Welsh Labour government can do lots and lots for Wales. But we also know that putting Labour in power in Westminster, with that we can do so much more. By ending austerity, rebuilding our public services, rejuvenating our economy. That's the choice at this election. And we know locally, we've asked for it, we've been promised it, we want a tidal lagoon, and Jeremy is promising it. We also want modernisation, electrification of our railways services and our bus services, the Swansea Metro, linking us out to West Wales, providing affordable, cheap transport for all, publicly owned transport, not the money ripped off by the companies, cheaper fares, better services, environmentally friendly. Why should we have these diesel trains coming here from Cardiff, electrify them and provide better services for working people for a sustainable future in Swansea? So that's the difference a Labour government will make here amongst many other changes. That's the difference that will be made if on the 13th of December we elect Jeremy Corbyn as Prime Minister. Our most exciting days are ahead, and with a Labour government in Westminster working hard, hand in hand with a Labour government in Wales, we can transform the lives of all in this city and beyond. We can build a different and better future for everyone across the UK, and that we could all look forward to and be proud to pass on to future generations. That's the future we're fighting for. That's the future within our reach. That's the future we must create over these next few days. Can we do it? Yes, we can. Can we do it? Yes, we can. Thank you. I would now like to hand over to my good friend, someone whom I'm sure you'll want to give a very warm welcome, someone who's going to make sure the voice of Wales is heard at every cabinet meeting. The next Secretary of State for Wales. Let's hear it for Christina Rhys. Thank you.
Well, hello everyone. It's great to see you. It's fantastic to be back in Swansea for the final days of this great campaign. I was just backstage just now, and I was thinking back to our fantastic campaign we ran in 2017. I must admit, I didn't expect to be back out on the campaign trail just quite so soon. But Boris Johnson's hubris means we have the chance to kick the Tories out of number 10. And see Jeremy Corbyn installed as our next Prime Minister. Now, I've relished the chance to get out and spread our message all across Wales. I'm never happier, you know, than when I'm on the doorstep, speaking with the people that we have to carry with us to deliver a UK Labour government. And let me tell you, I've been pounding the streets across Wales for weeks with so many of our brilliant Welsh Labour candidates and campaigners. And I thank you all for everything that you're doing. It really means so much. And everywhere I go, I meet people who are desperate for change, desperate to throw out Boris Johnson and his ragtag cabinet of hard-right Brexiteers. People who are desperate for a UK Labour government. As we saw at the launch of our great manifesto, the Labour Party's agenda is ambitious, and the vision is bolder and more radical than ever before. And we know that that's needed. It's a vision for real change that will finally rebuild the Swansea Bay Tide Lagoon. It's a vision for real change that will renew and electrify our rail infrastructure. And it's a vision for real change that says that Wales will be at the heart of government thinking and not just an afterthought. And you know that our Welsh Labour government has done so much for our communities, but they've done it with one hand tied behind their back. But with a UK Labour government led by Jeremy Corbyn at Westminster, working with our First Minister Mark Drakeford and our Welsh Labour government in Cardiff, there's no limit to what we can achieve. Finally, I'd like to introduce a local band who have achieved a great deal already, recently releasing their third single. So please give a big Welsh warm welcome to Straight Pursuit.
Hello, we are the Straight Pursuit. This is the quota, so you should know this one. If you know it, sing along. time think it was June. Yeah, think it was June. You're laying back out on the grass. You're shooting some, having some laughs. You're having some laughs. Go sing. You made me feel like the one. Made me feel like the one. The one. Drinking back, drinking for two. When drinking was new. Sleeping in the back of my car. We never went far. Didn't need to go far. You wanna sing with me? Come on. You made me feel like the one. Made me feel like the one. The one. You made me feel like the one. Made me feel like the one. The one. I don't know where we are going now. I don't know where we are going now. Wake up, cold coffee and juice. Remembering you, what happened to you. I wonder if we'll meet again. Talk about it, I see you say. You, how did it end? One more time, come on. You made me feel like the one. Made me feel like the one. The one. You made me feel like the one. Made me feel like the one. The one. I don't know where we are going now. I don't know where we are going now. So take a look at me now. Take a look at me now. Well, take a look at me now. Well, take a look at me now. Well, take a look at me now. Take a look at me now. Take a look at me now. Well, take a look at me now. Well, take a look at me now. Take a look at me now. Take a look at me now. Oh, take a look at me now. Oh, take a look at me now. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you very much. We are an original band, so we do write our own songs. So this next one's got a bit of our own one. This is our second single. We're on Spotify, Apple Music, Instagram. Give us a check out. The Straight Pursuit. Thank you very much. Got you in my side now. There's no single bed. You don't have to mess with my head. Mess with my head. Are you on cloud nine? I'm falling from the sky. Falling from the sky. Are you high on life? I'm not coming down. Coming down. You don't have to sleep on my single bed. You don't have to mess with my head. Mess with my head. Sleep on my single bed. You don't have to mess with my head. Mess with my head. Mess with my head. Mess with my head. Oh no. Thank you. Thank you very much. Do you all like Status Quo? Big fans of Status Quo? I like it. This is called Rockin' All Over the World. off and get away. We're going crazy and we're going today. Here we go. Oh, rocking all over the world. Sing along, keep up. And I like it, I like it, I like it, I like it, I love it, I like it, la 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 la. Here we go. Oh, rocking all over the world. Show your mama what she gotta do. Come on now with your dancing shoes. Here we go. Oh, rocking all over the world. Do you wanna sing? And I like it, I like it, I like it, I like it, I love it, I like it, la 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 la. Here we go. Oh, rocking all over the world. And I get it. And I like it, I like it, I like it, I like it, I love it, I like it. Here we go. Oh, rocking all over the world. And I like it, I like it, I like it, I like it, I love it, I like it. La 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 la, here we go. Oh, rocking all over the world. Thank you. How are you all doing? We all right? You all doing good? Enjoyed a nice day so far? Happy days. This next is Don't Look Back in Anger by Oasis, so if we got him over, please help me sing. Slip inside the eye of your mind. Don't you know you might find a better place to play? You say that you'll never be, but all the things that you see slowly fade away. So I saw a revolution from my bed, 'cause the brains you said I had went to my head. Step outside, 'cause summertime's in bloom. Stand up beside the fireplace, take that look from off your face, 'cause you ain't never gonna burn my heart out. Wanna sing it? So sorry to wait. She knows it's too late as we're walking on by. It's so slight away. Don't look back in anger, I heard you say. The soul's flying away. Don't look back in anger, I heard you say. The soul slides away. Don't look back in anger, I heard you say. The soul slides away. She knows it's too late as we're walking on by. The soul slides away. Don't look back in anger. Don't look back in anger, I heard you say. It's not too late. As I said, we are an original band, so this next one's going to be a next one of our own songs. This was the first song that we released. This is called Out of This World. It's got like 15,000 listens, so that's mad. So thank you. Again, we're all local boys, we're all from Swansea. So big cheer on Swansea. So yeah, I hope you like it. So bright that it bright. You're out of this world. You're just like a Martian. But you can be dangerous, so I treat you with caution. Like Saturn, with all of the wind, as cold as Neptune. It cost me a fortune. You're out of this world. You're just like a Martian, but you can be dangerous, so I treat you with caution. You're a supernova, yeah, you're a wonder. You got this persona of lightning and thunder. You're out of this world. You're just like a Martian, but you can be dangerous, so I treat you with caution. You're out of this world. You're just like a Martian, but you can be dangerous, so treat you with caution. So let's leave today, say goodbye to them, forget what they say. Let's leave Earth again. You're out of this world. You're just like a Martian, but you could be dangerous. So treat you with caution. You're out of this world. You're just like a Martian, but you could be dangerous. So treat you with caution. Thank you. How are we doing in the back? You right? You okay? How are we doing on the sides? You right? Pretty okay? How are we doing in the middle? This next one's called House of the Rising Sun by the Animals. And it's been the ruin for many a poor boy. In God I know I'm one. She sold my new blue jeans. house in New Orleans. The colder rising sun. Thank you. Thank you very much. This next one's another one of our own ones. This is unreleased, so this is called Cover Me. The Straight Pursuit, that's where we are, The Straight Pursuit. We're on Facebook, Instagram, just go check us out, Spotify. Thank you. The Straight Pursuit. How's that? That's my accent. Everybody's giving comments. Yeah, yeah. Tell me something I don't already know. 'Cause time is moving fast, but my head is moving slow. Show me something I ain't already seen. 'Cause baby, you should come with me. And baby, you should come with me. Indeed, I wait you last night. I bet I gave you a fright. I didn't mean to intrude. I just wanted to see you. Yeah, yeah. Tell me something I don't already know. 'Cause time is moving fast, but my head is moving slow. Show me something I ain't already seen. 'Cause baby, you should come with me. Baby, you should come with. Oh yeah, come with me. 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 Oh yeah. Woo. Thank you very much. Hold up, come on, who's shooting? Class. Thank you. This next one's by Arctic Monkeys, is called Bet You Look Good on the Dance Floor. stop making me eyes, and you'll stop making me eyes. What it is that surprises me is that I don't really want you to. And you showed your frozen, oh, but you're an explosion. Your name was a real, but I don't care for sand. And I see the views, no result to the mango. I bet that you look good on the dance floor. I don't know if you're looking for romance, so I don't know what you're looking for. Said I bet that you look good on the dance floor. I danced to electro pop like a robot from 1984. From 1984. Was he stop ignoring me? Cause he's sending me to despair. But I was soundly curing me, and I don't think it's very fair. If your shoulders are frozen, but you're an explosion. Your name was a real, but I don't care for sand. Your lights to the fuse, not a soul to the bango. I bet that you look good on the dance floor. I don't know if you're looking for romance, so I don't know what you're looking for. Said I bet that you look good on the dance floor. Dancing to electro pop like a robot from 1984. From 1984. And people look normal. Cast a goose on candlelight. Just banging tunes in DJ sets and dirty dance floor. The dreams of naughty. I bet that you look good on the dance floor. I don't know if you're looking for romance, so I don't know what you're looking for. Said I bet that you look good on the dance floor. Dancing to electro pop like a robot from 1984. From 1984. Thank you. Thank you very much. This is going to be our last one. This is called I Don't Know. This is our latest single. It got released like 2 weeks ago today, which is madness. I think it's got a couple of thousand already, so that's madness. Thank you for coming. Thank you for listening to us. Thank you for having us. Big thank you to the Labour Party. Big thank you. Round of applause. So this one's on Spotify now. Please stream and have a listen, share it with your friends. So this is called I Don't Know. Since I've been home, don't know when to take the blows. And I don't know, I gotta take the blows. And I don't know, I gotta take the blows. And I don't know, I gotta take the blows. And I don't, gotta take the blows. And I don't, gotta take the blows. And I can take you there, but it's a long way down. I promise you, I swear there ain't a need to frown. And I can show you how it works, and we can see that there is a place for you, you and me. And I can take you there, but it's a long way down. I promise you, I swear there ain't a need to frown. And I can show you how it works, and we can see that there is a place for you, you and me. Thank you very much for having us. We've been a Stray Pursuit. Thank you very much. See you again soon. We're back. There's been a
a hitch backstage, so we've asked us to fill in another couple of songs. So is that all right? Is that all right? If it's all right with you? This next is by Arctic Monkeys, it's called Mardy Bum. Thank you. Now the body bomb, I've seen your frown and it's like looking down the barrel of a gun and it goes without killing all these words. Oh, there's a very pleasant sight to you, I must prefer my camera. Laugh and joke around, remember cuddles and kisses, yes, you get things off the ground and it was up and away. I'll bet it's right hard to remember that on a day like today with your argumentative, got the face on. Now the body bomb, oh, I'm in trouble again. I'm tired of forwards as you turn over there. Oh, put a nice silent disappointment face to one I can never come. Laugh and joke around, remember cuddles and a kissing, yes, you get the coffee ground and it was up and away. I'll bet it's right hard to remember that on a day like today when you're argumentative and you got the face on it. Yeah, I'm sorry I was late. I missed the train and then the traffic was in a state, and I can't be asked to carry on in this debate. I reoccurred when you said I'm there. But of course I do that really too. Laugh and joke around, remember cuddles and the kissing, yeah, to get things off the ground, and it was up and away. I bet it's right hard to remember that on a day like today when you're all argumentative and you got the face on. Thank you very much. We can do one more, and then it's time for us to go in. Again, thank you for everyone who's put us on. And thank you for letting us be here. This was called Cocoon by Catfish in the Bottle, man. I'm frustrated into your arms like a drunk who's been on it all wrong. And the sun's up and my head's fucked. And immediately I grabbed you. You go orange like the first time. Gonna love me tonight. Gonna love me tonight. Remember when we swapped names at night for maybe you'd stay and try and out-drink your friends. Oh, hated it. If they told, forget it if they try and get too old. 'Cause I'd rather go blind than let you down. Round your shoulders when you're half cut and you're frozen. You got invisible breathing. You're depending on me, yeah. Remember when we swapped names and now you're for maybe you'd stay and try to out-drink your friends. Oh, hey, yeah. So forget it if they try and get too close. 'Cause I'd rather go blind than let you down. Forget it if they so. Forget it if they try and get too close. 'Cause I'd rather go blind than let you down. And if you wanna act up, propose is positive. Help with kids or relatives. Raised on me, honey, that's alright. Act more determined than usual to help you get away with no raised on me, honey, that's alright. Honey, that's alright. Round your shoulder when you have done, when you have, forget it if you so, forget it if you try and get too old. 'Cause I'd rather go blind than let you down. Forget it if you so, forget it if you try and get too old. 'Cause I'd rather go blind than let you down. Thank you. Thank you very much.
That's a good start, isn't it? Not quite Jeremy Corbyn. Well, hello, Swansea! And it's not every day you get to say that to a fantastic crowd like we've got here today. But I got one question to ask you all. If you were all here listening to me, who's knocking doors in Swansea East? Anyone here from Swansea, get out now and knock those doors. Today is a very big day. Today's the day when we all come together. And we come together as a family, and we come together as the Welsh Labour Party. And today's the day that we look back on the campaign so far. And boy, have it been a campaign. I think I've done more carol concerts than Santa Claus has done this year. Certainly more craft fairs. I mean, nobody would have wanted to be campaigning this close to Christmas, but we are doing it, and we are doing an absolutely fantastic job. And you guys deserve a round of applause. And when we're out there campaigning, the message that we are giving, the message of hope, is resonating right around the country. And people are backing us because we are the party with a vision. I don't know about you, but I am sick and tired of how the Tories have not just trampled over the UK, but they're trampling over us here in Wales, and we're not going to put up with it anymore. In 2017, we had a manifesto which nobody thought could be beaten. But we've done it. We've beaten it. I don't think any party in history has ever come up with a more transformative manifesto than what we have put forward this year, both at UK and Welsh level. And to the guys who wrote it, bloody hell, they need a round of applause. And they need a round of applause because every line of that manifesto runs with the very proud principles of us as individuals and us as a party. And one of the issues that came up, not in the manifesto, but came up 2 or 3 days later after Mr. Johnson dismissed 1950s women and said there was nothing for them. And I've actually been in a debate in Westminster where I literally banged my head on the table when a Tory minister said women born in 1950s could retrain and take apprenticeships. Never heard the likes of it. And there's women in here today, and there's men in here today, and there's young people in here today who will know somebody affected, and they'll know how tough it's been for any woman born in the 50s to survive, exist, continue. I have had women crying because they can't afford the bus fare to get to town. Not in Wales, because in Wales, they've got a bus pass. And then 2 days after our manifesto, boy, did we show those 1950s women that they were the top of our agenda, because we are the only party which will look after those women that this Tory and indeed the coalition government threw on a scrap heap and cared nothing for, and still care nothing for. But the UK Labour Party will look after every 1950s women who's struggling. And that's because we are proud of what those women done, and we will look out for them. We can be proud in Wales of the transformative effect that we've had with the Welsh Labour government. It's got a proud vision, and it promises it makes for what a UK government would do, could do, and will do. And I think we should give a cheer to our elected politicians in the Assembly, because they are a government in Wales. And Mark Drakeford, his ministers and all the Assembly members, they fight for us every day. But not just fight, they deliver, because we are in power. And it's because of the work that they do that we are buffered from the callous and uncaring, dogmatic mantra of this disgraceful Tory UK government. And you know, it makes my blood boil. It makes my blood boil that families are going without because of this Tory government. It breaks my heart that during the summer we had to feed 12,000 meals to children whose parents could not afford to feed them because they're on low wages or they weren't able to go to school for free school meals. And what did this government do? Nothing. They would have left those kids without. We won't. We will make sure that they are protected and cared for. And that's why this Christmas, the politicians, the Labour politicians in Swansea East, we will be providing over 200 hampers to families in our constituencies who otherwise would not have a Christmas. Everyone deserves a Christmas, and everyone will get one when UK Labour are in power. So let's be clear. The Tories have never cared for Wales, and Wales deserves better. And that's why this Thursday's election is so crucial. And it's why the stakes are so high. And it's why we all must work that little bit extra. We've all given a lot. We all think we've reached the level. But we got one final push. We've got a few more days. We've got to get out there. We've got to ignore the rabble that were outside here earlier on. The politics of hate. The politics that says nothing about what they will do, but everything about what we haven't done, ignoring that we do it, but they too... Yeah, well, wherever. But they can't stand on a platform of social agenda because they haven't got one. They got one message, a word I'm not even going to talk about. Because of that one word, this country is going down the pan under a Tory government who only cares about the B word. And when you stop and think about the things that have happened while we've been in opposition in Westminster, I mean, some of the things that I personally did and some of the things my colleagues have done, 1950s women, it's in our agenda. When I asked the UK government to help with the Children's Funeral Fund, it was the Welsh government that delivered that within 6 months. We had to fight the Tories to stop the gambling industry from exploiting people with the fixed odds betting terminals, but we did it from the opposition benches. Imagine what we could do with a UK Labour government and a Welsh Labour government. The sky would be the limit. And it would be fantastic to get back every single MP who was an MP when we went into dissolve. But if we could get new blood there as well to support us. We have fantastic candidates from Aberconwy to Clwyd West, from Carmarthen West and South Pembrokeshire to the Vale of Glamorgan, from Arfon to, Pembrokeshire. That was very difficult to say, by the way. But with a UK Labour government working with Mark and his team, we will deliver real and lasting change. We will build on our proud record of achievement in Wales, but with the investment and support to unleash the true potential of every business, every community, and most importantly, every child. This will be such a better place to be. And I'm hoping that Mr. Drakeford is in the wings. But if he's not, I'm going to have to talk for another 2 minutes, but I haven't got to. But anyway, guys, thank you for coming today. I can't remember who actually is the star turn, but I will remember when I get off the I think it was Jay something. Anyway, before that, I'm always the warm-up act. I'm going to just say this thing. Our campaign is about the UK government being able to do what the Welsh Labour government has done, and that is provide for the people not just of Wales, but right across this country. Because Wales Labour, we're standing up for our communities. We're standing up for our values. We're standing up for Wales. And that's why it gives me great pleasure to introduce to you a man who has been the architect of that Welsh programme, a man who I'm very proud as Deputy Leader of Welsh Labour to work with, a man who I text regularly and tell him what I think, and he texts me back and says yes, which is what I always like to hear. Ladies, gentlemen, boys, girls, sisters, brothers, the loudest of Swansea welcome for the leader of Welsh Labour, Mark Drakeford.
Wel, angyfeillion, diolch yn fawr iawn i chi gyd. Diolch o galon i chi gyd am ddod yma heddi i helpu ni ymarn Abertawe ond ledled Cymru wrth gwrs, i wneud popeth ni'n gallu wneud, i bod yn siŵr bydd Llywodraeth Llafur yn San Steffan, i cydweithio gyda ni yma yng Nghymru, i wneud popeth sydd â ni i wneud, i creu dyfodol llwyddiannus, dyfodol newydd, i teuluoedd i blant i pob un ohono ni yma yng Nghymru. Thank you all so much for being here in this absolutely crucial general election. An election that will set a direction not just for 5 years, but for generations that will come ahead of us. An opportunity to repair the damage done by a decade of Tory-imposed austerity. An opportunity to save our NHS from the clutches of Donald Trump and his friend Boris Johnson. An opportunity to have a government in Westminster that will put our planet before profit. All of that relies on us doing everything we can to make sure that here in Wales we return the maximum number of Welsh Labour MPs to do the things that only a Labour government will do. Only a Labour government will invest in our public services. Only a Labour government will make the lives of working people our priority. Only a Labour government will be prepared to take those long-term decisions on which the future of generations that will follow us will depend. And I hope that you forgive me just for a moment when I remind us all of what it means to have a Labour government. Because as I sat in the Clause 5 meeting at which our fantastic manifesto was signed off, and as we worked our way through chapter after chapter, I was struck by how much we have been able to do here in Wales, despite a decade of Tory cuts, despite a government in Westminster that has no interest at all in Wales. We don't have to have free prescriptions in our manifesto in Wales. We don't have to have free breakfasts. We don't have to have abolishing car parking charges in our hospitals, because we've done all that in Wales already. We don't have to ban fracking, because we've banned it already in Wales. We don't need to promise to have a guard on every train, because every train in Wales already has a guard. All those things that come with a Welsh Labour government, that we want a UK Labour government to show how those things can be done across the whole of the United Kingdom. We don't need to restore nurse bursaries because we never abolished them. We don't need to restore education maintenance allowances because our young people have had them ever since the last Labour government put them in place. And the next Labour government in Westminster will make sure that all the things that we have done, we can build on that with Jeremy Corbyn and his team there in London to work alongside us. Look, I just wanted to tell you two stories, because in the end, you know, all politics is about people. Everything that you do, everything that Jeremy does and we do here in Wales, in the end, it's all about the people that we want to serve and work with. And I just wanted to tell you about two people who I have heard about and met over the last few months. Earlier in the summer, Jeremy and I were privileged to represent the Labour Party and the people of Wales at the commemorations to mark the 75th anniversary of the D-Day landings. Landings in which the continent of Europe was liberated from the scourge of fascism, and so many Welsh soldiers involved in that. We went together to Bayeux and had been in the cathedral there during the morning. And after the service was over, we walked together from the cathedral up to the cemetery where so many Welsh soldiers are buried. And as we went, there were 300 people left from the thousands and thousands who were involved in that great operation. All of them now well in their 90s, many of them being pushed by their family and friends in wheelchairs up to where those crosses, those thousands of graves are still to be seen. And as we walked up, I spoke to a very frail man, well in his 90s. His daughter was pushing him up the hill. And what he said to me was this. He said, don't forget, not only were we the people who liberated Europe, but we were the people who gave you that great Labour government, who voted for Attlee, who made sure you have the National Health Service, who made sure that there were houses for people to live in, who made sure there was an education service for all our young people. And I felt that what he was saying to me was, in our day, in the worst of circumstances, we acted to make sure that there was a future that was fair for everybody. And that is the future that those of us who are lucky enough to be in the positions we are in today have to have the same courage, the same determination, the same bravery to create, not just here in Wales, but for people right across the United Kingdom. And let me tell you as well about somebody right at the other age of the age spectrum, a young child. So this is a colleague of mine in the Welsh Government, in the Cabinet, who said to me, we were meeting on a Monday, and she said, on Friday, I went into a school in my constituency, as so many of us do every week. She said, I went into the school, primary school, because the children there were having a special day. They were having a day when they were all meeting and talking and answering the question, what is the sort of Wales that we want? And she said, I went into this class of 6 and 7-year-olds and sat down at a table with a group of them, and the young girl next door to me had been drawing a picture. She'd been drawing a picture of the Wales that she wanted. And it was a picture of fields and of trees and of hedges and of animals. And she said, I said to this 6-year-old, I said, looking at this picture of the countryside, so where does food come from? And the child said to her, with no sense of irony and not making any sort of point, that 6-year-old child said to her, oh, food comes from the food bank. Now, can you imagine a more chilling moment than that? A child in Wales, in the 5th richest country in the face of the globe, who believed in her absolutely everyday experience that the food on her table came from the food bank. And that's what the next Labour government will make sure, that that child never needs to say again. Because it is a disgrace, it is a scandal and a disgrace that there will be 50,000 more children in poverty in Wales at the end of this decade than when the last Labour government left office. 50,000 more children without a future. And it's not an accident. It didn't just happen by itself. It happened because of the cold-hearted, calculated, pitiless, merciless decisions of a Tory government. Now that's why in this election, it is the Labour Party that says to people, you don't have to settle for a Boris Johnson basement Britain. We can do better than the Tories tell you. We will give hope to people across this country. We will give hope to those families forced to rely on the feared and hated universal credit. We will give hope to those young people so dedicated and determined to making climate change, the fight to reverse climate change, a reality in our lifetimes here today. We will give hope to those people who turn up every day to work in our public services, trying to knit up the ravels of the welfare state, the net that was there for us all that the Tories have frayed to the point of breaking. We will give hope to those people. We will give hope to older people that as they come to need care in their own homes, that Labour will provide that health and social care system that will give them the dignity, the respect, the freedom from fear that Naib Evans said the health service was all about. And we will provide the hope that that person in Bayeux said to me, the hope that there is a government that will create in as bold, as determined, as courageous way in our lifetime a future for everybody. We will create hope in the life of that child and those like her, whose futures are blighted by the government that they have, through no choice of their own, been forced to live under. So thank you. Thank every one of you for everything that you do, for every door that you knock, for every envelope you stuff, for every leaflet you deliver, for every phone call you make, for every conversation that you have with people on the bus, in the queue, every chance we have in these last 5 days to go out there, to send that message, to make sure that people know the future can be different, the future will be different, because it's been cold, it's been wet, but it'll be worth it when we have that Labour government there in Westminster, a Labour government led by the leader of the Labour Party, the person you're going to hear from next, from Jeremy Corbyn.
Thank you. Thank you all for being here. And I'm sorry we're a bit late coming. There was a lot of people in Barry that wanted to have a word. And it was great, absolutely fantastic. And can I say a huge thank you to Geraint for his work, and make sure he's re-elected. To Christina, our Shadow Secretary of State for Wales, who is an incredible voice for Wales around the Shadow Cabinet table. To Mark Drakeford for his work, for his friendship, his help and his cooperation. And to Carolyn for all that she does in Parliament, and also the work she does in her constituency. And I was so pleased to come and work with her at the holiday hunger scheme we had in the summer. Because our party and our election are really one and the same thing. A party that's rooted in the community, strong in the community, and working for those communities. This manifesto is not just the product of very smart people in my office, the Labour Party head office, and many other places that wrote it. It's the product of the hopes and inspiration of thousands of people all over the country, from their daily experience as carers, as nurses, as doctors, as teachers, as factory workers, as street cleaners, people doing all kinds of jobs. Their hopes, their aspirations for the kind of society they want to live in are all bound up in this document. So when you're door knocking and when you're campaigning, it is for all of them, it is for all that we can and will create in a society. But it's also about the Labour culture of supporting each other, the Labour culture of solidarity, and the link of music and art with socialist ideas and the kind of society that we will create. And in the city that produced one of my favourite poets, Dylan Thomas, it's an absolute pleasure to be here in Swansea today. A place that's given so much to the entire world and will give so much more. I just heard what Mark was saying and what Geraint and others have been saying about the climate emergency that we face and how we address that. Yes, it's happening. Yes, it's real. Yes, it's here. You could run away and say, that's horrific, that's terrible, there's nothing we can do about it. Or you can say, actually, we have to do something about it, we have to be involved, and we have to face it strongly, but with determination of how we can improve people's lives. And so, I moved the motion in Parliament in Westminster on May the 1st that the British Parliament be the first in the world to declare a climate emergency, and it was carried, mainly because Michael Gove spoke on behalf of the government, and he spoke at enormous length. He may still be going on now for all I know. And two things are apparent from his speech. One is he doesn't like me one little bit. It's all right, it's all right, it's all right. It's all right, it's all right. They don't call me Marmite for nothing. And he didn't have any arguments against what we were saying. So our government will introduce the Green Industrial Revolution concept. That will be about sustainable energy jobs. It will be very important projects like the Swansea Bay Lagoon, which will help to provide jobs, investment and hope for the future. And all the technology that will spin off from that about the sustainable environment, retrofitting homes so we use less energy, also protection of our natural world and improvement of our biodiversity. Because you cannot go on watching species be extinct, forests being burnt in Latin America or West Africa, and we don't all pay the price. And so the Paris Climate Change Accord of 2015 was an enormous step forward. I was there for some of it. It was fascinating listening to it and taking part in those discussions, but it doesn't go far enough. And therefore, next year, when the COP26, the Climate Conference 26, comes to Britain, I want a Labour government to be hosting that. I want a Labour government to be hosting that on the world stage to go further and faster than Paris envisaged. Because at the current rate, we won't meet zero emissions targets till 2099. That's too late, and we've got to do something a lot sooner. And so our manifesto sets out, and I'm determined to do everything we can, and if possible to achieve that by 2030. But it is about investment, and that is what a Labour government is prepared to do. But it's also recognising that we have to support industry as a whole, and there has to be a trading relationship with Europe. If Boris Johnson has his way, and we walk away with no deal with the European Union, and he walks straight into the arms of Donald Trump, what you've seen about the NHS is as nothing compared to the type of trade deal he would do with the United States, given half the chance. It's Labour that wants to protect jobs, protect industry, and ensure we have that effective trading relationship with Europe. And I'm very proud of the work that Welsh Labour did to try and protect the steel industry and ensure that high-quality, sustainable industrial development all across Wales. That's what you get with a Labour government, a serious approach to jobs, communities and provision of services for everybody. But the Welsh Labour government has been grotesquely underfunded by the Westminster government. Imagine how much better it would be with a Labour government in Westminster working with a Labour government in Cardiff. That will improve those jobs and conditions. But it's also about righting the wrongs of the past, those that suffered grievous industrial injuries and conditions from the mines, the steelworks, and so many other places. And the nastiness of the universal credit system that drives so many people into debt and into poverty and into desperation. So there's a number of historical wrongs that we intend to right in relation to the mine workers' pension scheme and in relation to the WASPy women who've been so grievously treated by this government. Those proud women that worked hard all their lives to bring up their families, to work in different jobs, in different services and different industries, were shortchanged by this government. Well, we're going to change that. We will turn that around and they will get what they are due to have. And when I get questions from the media saying, well, how can you possibly afford that? I'm sorry, there was an act of deception on them in 2011. It's a moral duty that this country pays that contract to them, and we will do exactly that. And that moral debt will be repaid in full. Our manifesto is about injustice and inequality in Britain. Last night I had the I was going to say pleasure, but let's say experience, of a debate with the Prime Minister on these matters. He tells us, sorry, I hope you're not booing me. He says the economy's doing well. He says the economy's doing fine. Well, if it is doing so well, how come 4 million of our children across the UK are living in poverty? How come 130,000 children will go to sleep on Christmas Eve, wake up on Christmas Day, not knowing their home is a certainty in their lives? How come there's thousands all over the UK sleeping rough on our streets? How come there's so much inequality and injustice? Because we've gone so far backwards as a country ever since Margaret Thatcher became Prime Minister that we've forgotten what it is. We've forgotten what it is to have a properly funded system of public services. And so we have to invest for the future. And if every last word of this manifesto carried out brings us actually to the level of public services they have in France or Germany, that's how far behind we've got. And so we fight this election to win it. We fight this election to right the injustices of the past as well. And I go back to what I was saying about the benefit system. Ian Duncan Smith developed universal credit. I was very proud to go to his constituency, Chingford and Woodford Green, and stand up there on a park bench in the middle of the town and say, we, the Labour Party, will end universal credit and bring in a system of real social security, where there is a safety net to prevent people falling into destitution. None of this poverty is necessary. But it's also about income levels. If the economy is doing so well, why do so many people in work have to access a food bank in order to put food on their table? Why are there 1 million people across the UK on 0 hours contracts? Why is there this grotesque level of in-work poverty? And when the UN themselves, the United Nations, did an investigation into poverty in Britain, just think about that for a minute. The United Nations does an investigation into poverty in Britain. We are the 5th richest country in the world. And I read the report very, very carefully. And they went all around the UK. They met people in food banks. They went to benefit offices. They went to job centres. They went all around. And they concluded at the end of it that the consensus under which this country had operated, that you have a welfare state worthy of the name, had been replaced by a cold and uncaring ethos that allowed people to drift into deep poverty. And he had warm words to say about the Welsh Labour government and what it had tried to do to mitigate the effects of that. But we have to go much, much further. And so it is about a real living wage in Britain, not what it is at the moment, a real living wage of £10 an hour for all workers, including young workers who are so badly treated. So that will help a lot to change things. But it's also about our most precious national asset, the National Health Service. The National Health Service, the product of Tredegar, the product of Aneurin Bevan, the product of that historic Labour government of 1945. The principle of health care free at the point of use for all time. Boris Johnson last night seemed quite annoyed when I reminded him that it was the Conservative Party that voted against it on 41 occasions in Parliament. I don't blame him personally because he wasn't born at the time, but I do blame him for not knowing the history of his own party. He was, after all, very well educated. He should know this better. And our NHS is at risk. It's underfunded. That's very clear. There are record problems of waiting times across England particularly. there are also problems of its future. And so, when the British government engaged in secret talks with the United States on a potential trade deal with the United States, these talks have gone on for 2 years. We asked for the documents, and you remember in the first leaders' debate, I produced the documents. Every single line, every single page, redacted, redacted, redacted. Not one word was published. But we did get a very short version of the American Department of Trade side of things, which said that they were talking about access to services, they were talking about the UK health market, they were talking about access of American companies to it. Then, a bit later, I produced the entire documentation of all the talks that have gone on for the past 2 years. And what's on the table? One, extending the patent life of American medicines so that the high price of patented medicines would be forced on the British healthcare system, i.e. our National Health Service, that they would demand access to the health market in Britain. It's not a market, it's a National Health Service. Big difference. And access to our public services. And then, a week later, they claim that somebody else wrote these documents. Well, it seems a very strange turn of events that, first of all, you get a refusal to publish the documents, so they get the redacted version, which did confirm all the meetings had taken place. Then you get the American version, which shows they did take place. Then you get the version that was given to me, which I produced for the public interest, which suddenly, this morning, is apparently an invention by somebody else. Well, I tell you what, it's in their imagination. They are up to their dirty tricks with our NHS, our services, our lives, and our market in the future. No Labour government will ever sell our National Health Service. It is simply not for sale. Not now, not ever, not any time. And so we go into the last 5 days of this election campaign. This election campaign that's mobilised thousands and thousands of Labour Party supporters all over the country. Brought an unprecedented torrent, avalanche of abuse against leading Labour figures from many of our national newspapers. I tell you what, they bring out all this personal abuse. They do all that because that's what they know and that's what they trade in. I simply say this: they go low, we go high. They go into the gutter, we go to the skies, because we've got a different message of a different society and a different country that we want to create. And so, when we get to polling day next Thursday, your efforts must be rewarded. But please remember this: there are many people who don't make up their mind until the very last minute. So however tired, cold and wet you're getting, and I know that's the truth, just go out there until the very last minute. Knock up till 10 o'clock to get those supporters to come along and vote for our wonderful candidates. Because if we slow up, if we give up, if we walk away, what do you get? More of a Tory government, more austerity, more poverty and more inequality. Since they chose to go down the road of austerity in 2010, the number of billionaires in Britain has grown to 150. But some of them are clearly very mean and ungrateful people, because only 50 of them have donated to the Conservative Party. I don't know what's wrong with the other 100. Not right. And you get a government funded by billionaires for billionaires. You get a government that does is a stranger to the truth on so many issues. Or you elect a Labour government, a Labour Party, where the average donation is £25 to our election fund, where the average donation comes from people who are giving what they can. I tell you what, I'm more proud of £25 donations than any money from any billionaire, because it shows what we as a party are about. We're the party that created the NHS, that brought about the welfare state, that built the houses that people needed, that brought in the Sure Start, the children's centres, and we'll be the government that will deliver for all of the people of this country, but particularly for the young people, to create that country fit for the next generation. And so the combination of austerity, of underfunding, the combination of the stress levels mean that the life chances of so many young people are damaged by the poverty in which they're born in the first place. We can no longer go on with this level of inequality. I want to lead a Labour government that will take us on a better, different path. A Labour government that on the world stage will speak up for environmental sustainability, human rights, peace and justice all around the world. And it's now, in these last 5 days, it's totally in our hands. Please go out there and do everything you can, not just to talk to people, but to listen to people. This manifesto came about from us listening to an awful lot of people about the kind of world they want to live in. It's been fully costed and very carefully written. We're the only party to produce a detailed, fully costed manifesto. And we will judge ourselves, be judged by the effect we have on reducing poverty and inequality, environmental sustainability, and improving the life chances of those whose life chances have been so damaged by 10 years of austerity, 10 years of Tory and Liberal Democrat government. And so, do everything you can, and on Thursday, we work very hard. And on Friday, when we win for the people. We win for the miners. We win for the steel workers. We win for teachers, doctors. We win for the whole community. But above all, and that will give you a nice early Christmas present. Thank you very much.